Hey everyone, this is David George, and I'm coming to you live in Windsor, Ontario at the Windsor waterfront. And behind me is downtown Detroit across the Detroit River from Windsor. And right now I'm at the intersection of Crawford and Riverside Drive. So I'm walking along the Ray Battagello bike and walk trail that runs 8 kilometers from the Ambassador Bridge to Hiram Walker and Sons Distillery. And it's like a brand new walkable park that if you're ever down here, I think you'd enjoy a lot. Now ahead of us is, oh no, okay. So ahead of us, let's try this. So ahead of us is a new structure that the city of Windsor spent or budgeted $11 million to build. This little structure that's going to house a stationary streetcar that used to run along the streets of Windsor. Personally, I think it's a big waste of money, but I'm just one person. But you can see what it looks like from this camera. And to the left of it is the Detroit River, and you see downtown Detroit with the beautiful Rensen and other skyscrapers. Further down you have the Michigan Central Station that was recently renovated, and the Ambassador Bridge way down there. So let's continue our walk here. And if you look to the right here, you're going to see a bridge, and underneath this bridge is a tunnel. I believe this is where the tunnel goes to Detroit for the trains, for the cargo trains. So this is the new building. I don't know how well you can see it on this camera, but they got all the glass windows and doors covered up here. Looks like it should be finished pretty soon. Make sure my microphone's on. And there's downtown Detroit. It's really beautiful here, walking down this trail at night. And the Ray Battagello Trail isn't the only parks trail down here. There's plenty of others, and it connects to a bunch of parks along that trail. Like you have Dieppe Park, which is right in downtown, and several other parks. Another good one to see would be the Burt Weeks Fountain, which is a little bit past Caesars Windsor Resort. But if you're here during the day, I think this parking lot's open, and you can just park your car here and watch the Detroit River and the oil tankers, like 100-meter or 1,000-meter oil tankers that go up and down the Detroit River carrying oil. So here's one of the water pump stations next to the river. Very beautiful at night. So if you were to take a time machine back maybe half a century, you would see rail lines running along the riverfront. And later on, they got rid of the rail lines and built this beautiful waterfront water parks. And if you are ever down here around downtown, if you go to the waterfront, you're going to see a locomotive, and that's called the Spirit of Windsor. And that locomotive was decommissioned in 1961, and they just display it there as a stationary reminder of Windsor's past and the rail lines being here. They also repainted it, so it looks pretty good. It's not like a rust bucket. There's a charity that does take care of it. So ahead of us is the Cobo Hall Convention Center, and they changed the name to, I think, the Huntington Hall or something. And then there used to be to the left of Cobo Hall, the hockey arena for the Detroit Red Wings, and then they demolished it and moved it further up a Woodward Avenue. And in its place, they've built, I think that's called the Louis. It's like a 500-unit apartment building right there. So it looks like it's better lit when you walk closer. So I'm going to walk a little bit closer so you can see it better with the street lights. So here's a better view of the Ambassador Bridge. Really nice. So you can see a building ahead of us that says, this one right here, it says Alley Financial. That building was built in 1991 by Comerica Bank, and they moved their head offices to Texas. And that office building is the largest office building in the state of Michigan. So the Detroit Ren Center, the Center Marriott there, is actually taller, but it's a hotel. It's not an office building. And that was originally called Ford City. It was built by Henry Ford II, or he was the leader who got behind building it. And the architect's name was John Portman, and he was a world-renowned architect. He's built many, many buildings all across the world. And this one has like a cylindrical building in the center for the Marriott, and then 4 rectangular buildings around it, and then there's like 2 smaller rectangular buildings to the right of it. And if you look at some of John Portman's earlier designs, before that he had built the Bonaventure in downtown LA, and it was just 5 cylindrical buildings. There wasn't a variety like this. So this is quite, in my opinion, that's quite an improvement to some of Portman's earlier buildings. And the sad thing is that GM wants to demolish that building. I mean, I find that the Detroit Ren Center to be iconic. As iconic as the Empire State Building in New York City or the Eiffel Tower in Paris. It's just, to me, it's such a beautiful building. And it's been in a lot of movies, most notably RoboCop, the original one. And it's just something you associate with Detroit. If you know anything about Detroit, you associate that building. And I've been there a bunch of times, and I do not understand why they want to slate it for demolition. And they also want to ask the state of Michigan for $250 million to cover the costs of demolishing it. Like, I mean, this is actually downtown Detroit's only indoor mall in there. Like, you go in there, there's a mall, food court. There used to be a movie theater in there. And they've had a lot of cool conventions that were held in there, like the Umicon. I went there that one time, and they used the whole area. And then people took the People Mover down to Cobo Hall. And it's just amazing. Like, it's been completely renovated. It would be a great disappointment, I think, to let these structures get demolished. It should be actually designated, because Portman was such a famous architect. He's built all over the world. He's built skyscrapers in Bombay, India, Shanghai, Singapore, LA. He developed the Petrie Center, which is pretty much Atlanta, Georgia's skyline. So, yeah, it's quite notable. And, you know, a decade ago, there were a lot of high-rises in downtown Detroit that were just boarded up and mothballed, and they were boarded up for like 40 years, for a long time. And they were in a lot worse shape. So they held on to those buildings, and eventually they came around and developed it. And if the argument is they can't get the GM Ren Center fully rented, then just mothball a couple of the buildings, like just close them off and save it for 10 years down the road. There's no reason to demolish that. So let's have a look to the right. You can see that there is the Windsor Art Gallery. And behind it is the Windsor's indoor water park that was built like less than a decade ago. And it has 5 indoor water slides and an indoor wave pool and a lazy river and other things. The indoor water park is definitely worth checking out if you're ever down in Windsor. It's should run you probably around $20 for the day. And here you have the DoubleTree Hotel, followed by let me think, it used to be called the Hilton. And I don't know what they renamed the hotel next to the DoubleTree. And next to that is the St. Clair Center of the Arts, which was given to the St. Clair College, and it's now used as the campus for St. Clair College. And it was originally funded by Cleary, a former Mayor Cleary. He was also a lawyer, and he donated a lot of money to the city. And that was one of the things the money he donated to the city was used for. Yeah, I like how they lit this area up so you can walk around here and appreciate the air and the vibe. So further down that way is Belle Isle, and that's part of Detroit, and there's a bridge that will take you to Belle Isle if you ever decide to go from Windsor to Detroit. And I believe it's, what, 85 acres or something? No, it's got to be bigger than that. And they had a lot of uses for Belle Isle. They've held the Detroit Grand Prix on Belle Isle, and they had a golf course there. There's also the Detroit, I think, Yacht Club at the back, as well as a beach. There used to be an amusement park there, and they closed it off. But they still have this big slide. You can really fast slide. You can get on a beanbag and slide down on, and it really you can really feel it when you get to the bottom. So there's downtown again. Here is the Canadian headquarters for Chrysler. And next to it is the keg, and that was the whole Chrysler complex. And to build that, they demolished a really historical block called the Norwich Block. But all in the name of progress, as they say. So yeah, this is where downtown pretty much starts, because on the other side of the Chrysler building here is Olette Avenue. And you go down Olette Avenue, and that's your entertainment district for downtown. So I don't know how well you could see it, but you see these, I don't know if they're propane or natural gas powered flames all around the patio there, which seems, you know, like a really nice setting and atmosphere if you're ever down here and want to have a steak or whatever for dinner. Here you have a huge Canada flag on that pole, and behind it you can see the signage for Caesars Windsor Resort. So Caesars Windsor Resort has two hotels, two hotel towers. One of it's the largest tower in Windsor, and they have over 750 hotel rooms. And to the right here, along the riverfront, is a place called the Bistro, which is a restaurant with a really cool patio overlooking the waterfront here during the spring and summer. Definitely worth checking out. And just a thought, if you decide to come down Windsor and you want to explore Detroit, one option to go down Detroit is just take the tunnel bus for $7.50. which is about what the new toll rate to take your car across through the tunnel or the Ambassador Bridge. So why not just take the tunnel bus? Because parking can cost you all the way up to $50 US for the day. So it's a lot cheaper just to park your vehicle in Windsor and take the tunnel bus. So here's you looking up Willette Avenue. So next to it is the CIBC building there, and that there is the Holiday Inn Express. But I suggest if you want to book a hotel like the Holiday Inn Express, use booking.com, because if you go to the front clerk there on a Friday or Saturday night, I heard it's really expensive. I heard a guy spent $400 for one night there. And he couldn't believe how much they charged for just a regular hotel room. And then he told me about it. I said, wow, that's a lot. I didn't expect hotel rooms to cost that much. So yeah, it's better if you pre-book your hotels on a site like booking.com or hotels.com. So if you're here during the summer, there's a lot of different things to check out. I've done videos of it on my homepage, like the Carousel of the Nations. I believe that's in June, over 2 weekends. And the Carousel of the Nations is a celebration of different nationalities and their cultural centers. So one weekend you might have like a celebration of Italy and Serbia and Poland, and there's different cultural centers in the city that you can check out. And then if you go there, you can try their ethnic foods, and you can visit their like cultural museum and other things. It's a pretty cool thing, and it's very unique to a mid-sized city like this. Like cities of about 220,000, usually you don't see it. And you can check it out on my homepage. I have a video of going through the Carousel of the Nations, as well as when I went to visit the different sites of Carousel of Nations. Along the riverfront, there was World's Finest Midway Rides, which had like a mini amusement park there for the 2 weekends that they had Carousel of the Nations. So that's something extra you might want to check out if you're here during that time. And there's other kinds of festivals too, like in the spring, there's Windsor's birthday, and I did a video on that. And during that Windsor's birthday video, I visited like 5 different things that was free during that day. So they had like the Chimsic Museum and the Art Gallery of Windsor, which was free. And outside of the Chimsic Museum and Art Gallery of Windsor was a stage set up where they had different ethnic dances during the day, and they had a comedian out there during a time slot and other things. It's a really lively area during that time. And they also had other things you can check out there, like Windsor International Film Festival had like outdoor showings of movies. And that, which was in front of City Hall, was something you can do. And As well, along the riverfront during that day, when I did a video of that, there was a Corvette show with probably over hundreds of Corvettes all displayed along the riverfront that you could have seen, and lots of different time periods of Corvettes, which was pretty cool. So, pretty huge following of Corvette lovers in this city. And you'll also see that during the Woodward Dream Cruise. They have a pre-Woodward Dream Cruise event in Windsor like a week before, and I did a video of that on my homepage, which you can check out if you like. And another thing that was going on during Windsor's birthday when I did that video was the Poutine Festival at Festival Plaza. So this here is Festival Plaza, like behind it, and then you got the band shell, and then another like large parking lot in front on the other side, which is in front of Caesars Windsor, which is an interesting thing to check out. Now, I was reading the Windsor Star today, earlier, and they were talking about rehabbing this Festival Plaza at a cost of $20 million. Can you believe that? There is nothing wrong with the Festival Plaza we have right now. And they did interviews. There was Ronaldo Agostino, who was the city councilor for downtown, and he was talking about, let's support it for $20 million. We need it. And like, what is wrong with this area? Like, you got some cracks in the road, just put like pavement sealer on it, and that's it. Like, that plaza there, that was built like a decade ago. It's not even that old. It's not crumbling. There's nothing wrong with it. There's no reason to redo it and like put in grassy parks here. I mean, you need a place to hold festivals, and this is perfect for it. Just pave it, and that's all you need. So we'll go over the other side as I walk further. So here is a memorial to the fire department, and behind it is the Raymond Damaris high-rise building, and then the Caesars Windsor behind that. And that's the Augustus Tower, which is the tallest tower in Windsor, and then another hotel over there for Caesars Windsor. And underneath the Augustus Tower is a 5,000 seat Coliseum where they hold a lot of live stages and live events. And you can see on the display there, they have like January 23rd, Casey and the Sunshine Band. And I went there to see The Mentalist, which was pretty cool. Oh, this is nice. So they have an actual statue. I don't know if you can see it for the fire department memorial here. But this is pretty cool. And just imagine how it looks when there's a festival going on. But yeah, that really riles me up. They do not need to spend that kind of money in Windsor. And like, Windsor right now has like the highest unemployment rate in the country. So why would you waste money on redeveloping this plaza and raising taxes? There's no need to raise the taxes for this plaza. There's nothing wrong with Festival Plaza. Like, look at this. It's just a parking lot. You don't need to do anything with it. Just keep it the way it is. And there was another counselor, Fred Francis, who said the same thing. But yeah, like, what, do they really think you're gonna improve tourism by adding more green space and spending $20 million to do it? Like, come on. Absolutely ridiculous. And like, look at this. They hold car shows here during the summer, and it's not that bad. What's wrong with the pavement here? Just get pavement sealer. That's it. Good as gold. And you can't really see it now, but where that crown is, if you go further down, there's a fountain at the entrance of Caesars Windsor. It's like a huge, like waterfall style fountain. And it's a pretty interesting thing to see and take pictures in front of. As well, if you're down here on New Year's Eve, you can go to Cosmos Lounge and celebrate New Year's Eve for free. So that's one of my options anyways for New Year's Eve. I haven't really decided where I'm going to go for New Year's Eve. Like, I have several options, but that's one of them on the list. I've been there before, and it's a pretty nice place to check out for New Year's Eve. And if you're down here, another good thing to check out is, like, follow up on Windsor's history. They have, if you go to their website, you can download a PDF of like walking tours you can check out. So Windsor is made up of a bunch of different neighborhoods that were former towns, which have their own unique history to it. Like Walkerville was a planned city built by Hiram Walker, and he founded the distillery Hiram Walker's and Son, which makes the Canadian Club brand. And that brand center was built in 1894, and you could come down here in that beautiful historical building and check it out during a 90-minute tour, and also try the Canadian Club brand. And a unique thing that that Canadian Club brand whiskey has is that it was part of the whole Prohibition bootlegging era alcohol. So Al Capone was down here, and he worked out arrangements to have a lot of that whiskey shipped down to Chicago. So you get to taste a piece of history, like bootlegger whiskey. So very interesting thing to see if you're down here. And then you can go further south and check out Walkerville. And Walkerville was a planned town that was built according to standards of Hiram Walker. And he used the renowned architect Albert Kahn. He was renowned in Detroit to design this neighborhood with buildings in a certain style. As well, Kahn designed some of the buildings for the Walkerville distillery. And another thing he designed was Willisted Manor, which is worth checking out if you're ever down here. So Willisted Manor is a 32-room mansion built for the son of Hiram Walker, who is Edward Walker. And no, his last name I think was Edward Chandler, but he was still the son of Hiram Walker. And the building, or the house, with the coach house and everything else around it, was completed in 1906. And then Edward Chandler passed away in, I think, what was it, 1915, and they donated it to the town of Walkerville later as a park. So if you're ever down here, it's a really nice park, and it has like a wrought iron gate around the edges of it where it goes along the streets. And then there's certain openings where you can go through and walk through this 15-acre park. And some days you can actually get a tour of Willisted, and I think it's like $6 or $10, but you have to check their website. It's not a common thing, but something nice you can check out with your loved one or whoever. And there's other historical buildings to check out if you're ever in downtown Windsor, like the Francois Bobby House. And Francois Bobby was a former mayor of Windsor, and that building was part of the War of 1812 Trail. And now it's called the Windsor Community Museum. So if you want to know what it looks like, I did a video of it on my webpage. And I toured the Windsor Community Museum and talked a little bit about the history of the Bobby family. And they also have, in the Sandwich neighborhood of Windsor, the Duff Bobby House. And it was one of the two buildings that survived the War of 1812. There was a McGregor Cowan House and the Duff Bobby House. And the rest of the village was burned down during the War of 1812 when the Americans came here. And there's some other significant facts of history about that building. It's the oldest still standing mansion that's west of Toronto. It's a 3-story like mansion. They call it a house, but you can also call it a mansion. And a former U.S. general, General Harrison, from the War of 1812, stayed there when he was there with American troops, and he later became President of the United States. So, pretty significant thing. In the U.S., they would really praise buildings where former U.S. presidents stayed. And I also did a tour of that building and posted a video of it on my homepage so you can see it if you're not able to come down here and visit it personally. So here we are in front of Caesars Windsor Resort with 2 towers. And we have a beautiful fountain ahead of us. Like a waterfall fountain, but yeah. Pretty nice place to get your picture taken if you're ever down here, to create some nice memories of the city, or just the casino, whichever you want. As well as if you get tired of it, you always got 3 casinos right across the river in downtown Detroit. You got the Motor City Casino, Greektown Casino, and the MGM Grand Casino in downtown Detroit. But in Windsor, it's tax-free winnings, so why not go to the casino in Windsor if you're ever down in this area? So we are still on Riverside Drive. And we'll take another view of the waterfall there. I love waterfalls, so that is a pretty cool feature. Then we can see downtown Detroit again. So they also have nightclubs inside the Caesars Windsor. You have Arius nightclub. which is pretty packed. So you later in the night, so you got to get there by 10 or 10:30. Otherwise, you're going to be waiting in line to get inside that nightclub. And they also have the Cosmos Lounge, which is free to visit. We got a few restaurants there, and a bunch of other things you can see, like the Coliseum. Yeah, you can easily make a whole weekend of it if you're ever down here. So coming up is McDougal Avenue. Really nice. I love walking around here at night. So there's the billboard again. Let's see if they advertise another live event there. No, it looks like they're just advertising different games right now. And according to that billboard, there's a Bronco and cash giveaway. And I think they're going to be giving it away on New Year's Eve. That's the Raymond Damaris building to the right. And we shall walk underneath here. So other things you can check out if you're ever down here is Ford City, which is another neighborhood that was annexed into the city. And Drouillard Road was the main strip there. So they've spent a lot of money revitalizing it. And they used to have a Ford assembly plant in Windsor. And now it's just a Windsor engine plant in Ford City. And then on Drouillard Road, it'll take you to the Chrysler assembly plant. You go south. And then way out in the east end, you have the Windsor Essex engine plant for Ford. So it's still a motor city, but not the motor city we had in the past. So that's what the entrance to Caesars looks like.
It's camera.
Thanks.
You follow yourself?
What's that? Yeah. So there's the garage to Caesars Windsor. Right here, huge garage. Guess you need it with a 5,000 seat Coliseum. And there's signs there warning that they may tow you away, but I've parked my car there to go to events. You don't have to register your car if you go to the casino, so you should be good. So City Hall is located down there. And on the other side of this building here was the former skating rink that they had. And they're going to be spending a lot of money refurbishing that as well. So that building ahead of us there, that's not lighted, is a residential apartment building called the West Court. And I'm not sure what's going on with that. They were supposed to rehab it, and it's just been empty for years now. So we'll see what happens with that. So coming up is the Windsor Police Station, like the headquarters for it. As well, on this side to the left is the courthouses. I believe it's a Superior Court. And this here is where the skating rink used to be. So they got a bunch of plants around here right now. And they have some kind of snack bar here. I've never gone there before, but it seems to be called the Hub. And there ahead of us is City Hall, the new City Hall. Don't know what you guys think of the new City Hall. They spent a lot of money on it. And coming up is a World War I and II memorial. Now here is an interesting sculpture. So I think it's called, let's see, there's a name to it. I forget what it's called, but it's not bad. It reminds me of the Atlas sculpture, but it's an adult and a child holding up what looks like to be a planet. I think that's pretty cool. So it's called International Peace Monument. Okay. So I forget what this church here is called, but it's got, every time I look at it, I think of the steeple as a witch's hat. So that's the first thing that comes to mind when I look at that church every time I see it. Like someone told me that once, and now every time I see that church, I think of the witch's hat. So coming ahead of us is like Popeye's Louisiana Chicken. Formerly it was a Burger King, and they switched it over, I guess, a couple years ago. And behind it is the University of Windsor's, I think it's the art department. And on the other side, you can see like Victoria Park Place. You got some nice vertical high rises in downtown. So in front of City Hall, they got this area, it's called the David Crowell Park. Coming up is Goyo Street. So we look down Goyo, we can still see downtown Detroit here. And next block over is access to the Detroit from Windsor Tunnel. So when the museum, or when the University of Windsor took over the armories, which is right over here, they also built a new building next to it, as you can see there. This building to my right is the wind generating building for the tunnel. So they have big turbines in there that sends air through the tunnel, fresh air through the tunnel. Really nice looking historical building. I don't know if you can see the rest of it there. Now, before in this area where you see the building, there used to be, coming right up to the street and the sidewalk, it was like the Top Hat restaurant, and they tore it down and just turned it into a parking lot for, I guess, Popeyes there. But if you took a time machine like 30 years back, that was a pretty happening place. So here is a better view of the armories. Looks really cool. It's Victorian style armories. And you have some nice businesses along here, like Rooster Juice. And to the left, you have the Windsor Star building, as they call it. And there's the branch for the Windsor Family Credit Union. But the odd thing about this is that you can't actually do your checking at this branch. You have to go like South Windsor or somewhere else if you want to do that. They should open it up. Like, you can't even use the ATM machines after its closing time. So like, you come here at 8 p.m., the doors are locked to use their ATM machines. So here is a pizza, and ahead of us on the other side of Olette is the Turbo nightclub. And at the other end of the corner is a Taco Bell. So you have a few nice restaurants over here. Got a Shawarma Palace, and I think that's a coffee exchange behind it. So yeah, it's pretty nice for this time. Okay, let's cross. So we are crossing University Ave, if you don't know this street yet. To the left here used to be a bunch of nice nightclubs, and they closed them. So this one I didn't really patronize, but next to it used to be this nightclub here, which is called the Honest Lawyer. And that was like from a few years ago. Really cool place to hang out. Across the street was the former Boom Boom Room. And you have a convenience store. And another thing to check out if you're ever in downtown, you know, you want to come down here shopping, check out one of these tobacco shops, because you can try, if you're from the States, you might want to try these Cuban cigars because they're illegal in the States, but they're legal in Canada. So it's one interesting draw if you want to come down to downtown when you're down here. So here is Quesadilla Burritos and Lefty's Lounge. So Lefty's Lounge is for older patrons. So here is one of the smoke shops that's closed right now. And you got another convenience store here. Kim's, what is it? Ray and Kim's Super Convenience. So Mazar's restaurant is closed. And they're currently undergoing a big rehab of the Canada building to turn it into a residential, I guess, condominium complex. So let's have a look across the street here. You have the Tree House, which is a pretty popular nightclub for the university crowd. And here's a Scotiabank. At least you can access these ATMs at the Scotiabank, not like Windsor Family Credit Union. So coming up is Park Street. And across Olette Avenue is Vito's Pizzeria. And there at that corner on the second floor is 29 Park, which is another nightclub. And at this corner you have a Starbucks. So one thing I'm glad they got rid of in downtown are those massage parlors. Don't see them here anymore. So here is a club called Fion's. You can see it a little bit from the outside here. Maybe if you're down here on a Saturday night later, you can check it out. Across the street, there used to be a really cool karaoke bar that they closed down. Over there is a gym. So next to me is the 4 Points by Sheraton. You can see that sign, no? There we go. Good size hotel. All right. Have some other nice things on the entertainment night. And you're not going to see a lot of people yet because it's only, I don't even think it's 9. It's like 10 to 9 right now. Oh, this place looks packed. It's called Marcelino's Quick Bites. Here we have another shawarma place. Across the street, you have a Dr. Disc. Now that was short-lived, that nightclub there. And you have a new nightclub here called TQLA. And next to it, to the right, is another cigar place. So here across the street is a Blanche nightclub, and to the left of it is Fred's Fashions Menswear. That used to be a Furrier. And in between there is Maidens Lane, and then to the left you have Hustle 507, which is another like adult nightclub. It used to be called the Bistro. I think it was like the Bistro 507, I'm not sure. And above it is the House of Pong. So if you ever want to play ping pong when you're down here. Yeah, there's not a lot of activities to enjoy when you're down here. Like in terms of amusement park rides or stuff like that. Like you go to Clifton Hills and Niagara Falls, there's just so much to do there on a Saturday night. You don't see that here. That's something this city needs to improve on. So here's a Wild Child nightclub. And we have a Simon's Prime Burger here. Across the street's a weed place. coming up is the Manchester. So, yeah, they got a decent attendance there. Next club here is the Peacock Lounge. And here you have the Havana Smoke Shop, Cheese Wheels. Coming up is a Cash Money place. And here, to the right of me, is what used to be Tequila Bob's. Whoa, what happened, Tequila Bob? You're not in business anymore. I don't see the signage here. So I guess they couldn't make a go of it. Or maybe they moved to another location in downtown. I don't know yet. We'll have to research it. But if any of you guys have been at Tequila Bob's before, let me know what you thought of it. I'm curious why it shut down. So there you have the beach house. Or no, it's called the Bull Run, which is across the street, but I'm not going to go down there. I'm going to turn down on Felicia to let you know what that area is like. So this here is Wyandotte Street. And Olette Avenue, which is the cross street, is where Wyandotte Street goes from east to west. So we're now going down Wyandotte Street west. We'll do another pan view of this, so you can see the high rises. And down there is a McDonald's if you ever want to go to McDonald's when you're down here. So let me, know what you think of downtown so far in the comments section or the chat section. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. I do like talking about this city, so don't mind talking about it on the stream. So here is the College Boreal. And we're turning down Felicia Street, seeing what's new here. So this is a brand new loft style building that was built in the past couple years. It used to be the Don Cherry's nightclub, and then it was shuttered for a while, and someone bought it and decided to turn it into some really nice, like, residential lofts. And next to it is the former YMCA building, which was turned into a residential building. So from their website, it does look like some really nice apartments they got in there. Okay, so the name of this building is called the Hive. I really like that historical brick look they did to it. You know, there are a lot of other developers that are just pasting the brick over with stucco, which I don't really like. But what can you do? It is what it is. So ahead of us is a Victoria Park place that you can see in the distance. So here is art studio. Calls themselves Terribly Good. And coming up is Maiden's Lane. So that's Maiden's Lane. And if you're down here, there's a couple nice coffee shops to check out. That was a wine lounge that we just passed. And this garage coming up is where they hold the Saturday Farmers Market. And sometimes they hold it on this, they close off the street and hold it on this street as well, depending on how many people and booths there are. So this building coming up, that used to be a law office. I'm not sure what it is now, but I do see lights on, so that is a good sign. I think it was called the McTagg Law Office in the past. Oh, I still see a sign there that says McTagg Law Office, so maybe they're still using it. So this apartment building here behind those commercial businesses is called the Carnegie Apartments. And it got its name because before those apartment buildings was a Carnegie Library. It's sad that they tore it down. It was a beautiful historical library building. And then they built this really nice modern looking library building on Olette Avenue, and then they sold it. So they sold it to the Downtown Mission, and then Downtown Mission traded it for a property next to another building. So it was kind of a bondoogle for the city. Like the city should have never given it to them so they could sell it for another building. It's not a good use of taxpayer funds. Like the idea was that if they took the building, they would have turned it into some kind of homeless shelter, but that never happened to the library that was on Olette Avenue. And now you have a very small downtown library behind the Paul Martin building, which is kind of a swindle to me. Like this city really needs to get its act together. Like they're gonna spend $20 million rehabbing Festival Plaza, but they can't build a decent library in downtown. And the Paul Martin building, they gave it to some hotel operator out of Chatham that's going to restore it and turn it into some kind of boutique hotel. But when I walk by the Paul Martin building, I don't even see anything happening there. So I don't know if that's going to be another bondoogle. So coming up to the left is the Capitol Theater. The side and entrance to it is along University Avenue. And at this corner coming up is going to be Craft Heads Brewery. So they are like a microbrewery here. We're checking out, and certain nights they have comedy nights. So something to keep in mind if you're ever down in downtown Windsor. You want to check out a comedy show, check out Craft Head Brewery. They also sell beer that you can take home to the United States or wherever. So to the left there, that building is called the Security Building. I believe it was built in the 1920s. Beautiful building built in the roaring 20s. And to the right, this corner here, coming up, this, what is it, 6-story building, that is the Bartlett Building here. So there's University Avenue, which we went down earlier. And we will cross the street. So across the street is Burns Marketplace, and I don't know if they're in business anymore. I thought I heard they closed down. And this is the Capitol Theater, and if you look, they have like little plaques on the sidewalk like you see in Hollywood, commemorating different Canadian actors like Colin Farrell, or is it Colin Fior? Don't know how to pronounce that. To the right, this here used to be a really nice nightclub, and then they switched hands a few times, and looks like it's shuttered. But next to it here is Villain's Bistro, which is a popular nightclub. And it's a 2-story nightclub, so you go in, they have live music on the main floor, and then you go upstairs, and they might have karaoke or something else. So here is Echo's Lounge, and it looks like they went out of business. So Cheetahs is like an adult club, and they've been there forever. So I think they got like 2 strip clubs left in Windsor, and that's it. And next to it is like a cannabis place, and then a Rocket Mortgage building with a restaurant called Cucina. Then over here you have the Rocket Innovation Studio, which is a very nicely restored building. Now over here is the Invest Windsor Essex building. Very nice brickwork on it. I love it. I'm glad they didn't paint it over or stuccofy it. And here are the Town Place Suites, Marriott. That's a good place to stay in. My brother stayed in there one time. Very nice sized apartments to rent for the night. And you can also rent them by the week. So here is the one of the departments of social work for the University of Windsor. It used to be the Windsor Star building, and then they demolished area behind that facade there. So you have the original facade and then a whole new building behind it. Over here you have the St. Clair College Media Complex. Over there is the bus terminal with the Windsor Aquatic Center. Let's have another look at the Rocket Innovations Studio building. This actually was a really nice nightclub a couple years ago, but the only thing wrong with it was they painted it over. So the new landlords, they sandblasted the paint off and made it look like a much nicer building. So here is where the library was moved to in downtown. And it was just the post office section of the Paul Martin building, like the rear section. And it's a very small library. So here is one of the campuses for St. Clair College. I believe it's their business school. And this is also part of it. And you have a sign that says Saints Nation on it. So coming up is the Francois Bobby House. And that is the Windsor Community Museum now. So if you were to take a time machine back 100 years, you would have seen like dormers sticking out of that roof, because it was originally a 3-story building. And now it looks like it's just a 2-story building with a shortened roof. But it's very similar to the Duff Bobby House in Sandwich, except that this has a brick facade on it. So that was part of the War of 1812 historical trail. So it's definitely worth checking out. You'll learn a lot about the history of Windsor in the Windsor Community Museum there. So coming up is the Windsor Aquatic Center. And here you have the bus terminal. I do appreciate how they redid this terminal. It looks really nice. And this terminal will take you straight to downtown Detroit under the tunnel using the tunnel bus. So we can get a nice view of the indoor water park from here through those windows. So you can see some of the water slides. You have 5 water slides inside there. And right up close to this window, the first thing you see, that's going to be the surfing simulator. So I think you have to, if you want to use it, you have to take like, they have to put you on like a half-hour training seminar on how to get on that surfboard. And then you get on and you can practice surfing. So they call it the Flow Rider. And water shoots out from the bottom going up to the top, and you get on it with one of those boards. Actually, I don't know if it's those boards or something bigger, but It's an interesting water park here. You also have a wave pool there. And on the other sides, you have an Olympic-sized swimming pool. So yeah, you can see the water slides. Pretty interesting. And over here in front of the indoor water park is a Chimsic Museum, as well as the Art Gallery of Windsor. So the Chimsic Museum's on the main floor, and the AGW is on the floors above. Now inside, you're just going to see mostly contemporary Canadian art. It's not like the Detroit Institute of Arts in Detroit, where they have a $1 billion art collection showcasing all the great masters of time like Monet and Renoir. Like the Detroit Institute of Arts received a $300 million collection back in the 1950s. So it's a top art gallery. And if you're ever down this area, certainly go down to Midtown Detroit and check out the Detroit Institute of Arts. It's really something else. It's worth seeing. And last time I went there, admission was just a donation. There was a suggested donation of $10, but if you don't have $10, you can go there for free if you want. Unless they changed something recently, because they may have changed since then. And here you see the signage that says Windsor International Aquatic and Training Center, which has an Olympic-sized swimming pool, and they have like big swimming events held here for competing high schools and probably college. So you can see how they marked off the lanes in that big pool. So this area used to be an old brewery area. So you had this beautiful brewery building, and they later tore it down, and it sat as vacant land, and then they built this aquatic center and the art gallery in its place. And then you have this spot here, which is supposed to be a high-rise in the future, but we'll see what happens. Maybe when the interest rates come down, you're going to start seeing high-rises sprout out about here. So we're going to go down, I believe it's University again. You can see some nice historical houses. You see that? Yeah. So here you have the offices for Windsor Business. And there's other things to see here too. You don't have to spend all your time in the city of Windsor. You can go out into the county and see some cool things. So we also have beaches in the county as well as in the city. So in Windsor, you have Sandpoint Beach, and then up in Colchester and other areas of the county, you have other beaches worth seeing. And they have volleyball courts and other things set up, so you can go there and enjoy a lot of other activities. So There you have view of the Detroit skyline again. So let's head up street here and we'll turn at University Avenue. And I do want to video University Avenue because there's a big proposal with the city. Actually, I think it was approved like a month or two ago where they want to shorten University Avenue from Karen all the way to Salter and turn it into a one-lane street, which is absolutely ridiculous. It's now a two-lane each way, and they want to waste all this money to turn it into a one-lane street. I have no idea what their thinking is. Like, if the plan for downtown is to bring in density, you want to have wider streets so you can handle density. You don't want to just turn everything into narrow streets and bike paths where people can't take their cars and go through. Here's another view of downtown from the distance. You got a Tim Hortons over here. So this is University Avenue. Not sure what that street before was. I forget the name of it. And to the right you have the Windsor Multicultural Center. Here, ahead of us used to be Bubby's Cool Eats, which was a really nice restaurant. And I guess they went out of business. But they still managed to keep the lights on here. Almost makes you think it's open, but this is the entrance to it. And the lights inside are off. So across the street was another nightclub. And there's a very nice mural. That's worth checking out. I don't know if we can see it at night along the side of the building there. That is a pretty cool mural. Hang on, can we see it? Yeah, it's very hard to see at night. But he did a really good job with that artwork. Across the street is the Herald Press. And coming up is Karen Avenue. So you have a couple high rises over here. And there's been proposals to develop this area into more high rises, but nothing has really come into fruition. So yeah, the roads are damaged here, but still, you don't need to narrow it. You got to keep it wide. Like this was where the original street tracks that ran through Windsor came through along University Avenue. That's why these University Avenue is has wider lanes, but this is not as wide as it is further down. So when you go further down, you're going to see it's 2 lanes each way. So this area is poorly lit. There used to be like a homeless encampment down here. So coming up is Crawford, and that's where the former Grace Hospital used to be. And there was a proposal to redevelop that whole area, that whole block. And I guess because the interest rates went up, it didn't really come to fruition. And the city demanded the land back because they offered it to, I think it was Churchill Developments or something. And they were supposed to build residential buildings for St. Clair College for their campus here. So here is a supermarket called India Planet. See the sign there? No, you can't see it. You have an Esso gas station over here, and behind the Esso gas station is the former Mayor Cleary house. And it has some really beautiful historical elements on it. So this is what the Grace site is and looks like. That whole block that was supposed to be developed. But we're going to cross the street and let's go back to the riverfront. But here you can see how wide University Avenue is in Crawford. You got like 2 lanes plus a parking lane. So it's like 3 lanes each way. And they want to set up boulevards and make it 1 lane each way. So that is the Cleary House. Really nice building. And then you have some nice historical townhouses over this way. And coming up will be the CIBC. No, it's the CBC building. And then there'll be there's the retirement home on the left there. So we'll take a quick look at these buildings here. And it looks like they're constructing something new because it's all fenced off here. So they call this red brick building next to white retirement home with arches, Crawford Castle. Now, can someone explain to me why this is supposed to be a castle? Like, where did they get that name from? It doesn't look like a castle. So the retirement home is called the Devonshire Retirement Home, and that was built by Tony Area, one of the foremost developers back in the 70s and 80s. And he built many buildings that have tower next to the name that was built in the 70s and 80s. So it's like a pretty nice building. I like the arches. That's a nice touch. I'm always a fan of Romanesque arches on residential buildings. Just don't do it anymore. So there's downtown Detroit. And from here you can see how the Hudson building, the Hudson skyscraper, is coming along. You can see it lit almost all the way to the top there. So the Hudson building is that one right there. So if you're ever down here, some of the other parks you can check out is like Coventry Gardens at Paulette and Riverside Drive. And it's a very nice, beautiful floral gardens. And they have a nice floating fountain there as well. And that area used to be like Millionaire's Row back in the roaring 20s. And you can still see some classical mansions down there, like the Stott House that was built in the 20s. And it was built by the son of David Stott, who was a big flour mill producer. And they also built this beautiful skyscraper in downtown Detroit using like a terracotta brick style. So it's called the David Stott Tower in downtown. If you're ever down there, you can check it out. It's really nice, beautiful historical features on it. So you can see the Ambassador Bridge in the distance. That is privately owned. And here you have like a 100-meter oil tanker on the Detroit River. This here is the Riverview apartment building. It's a very nice cement entrance to it. But yeah, that's the Detroit side. It's $1 million view. I love it. Must be nice to have an apartment here overlooking the Detroit River and seeing the Detroit skyline at night. Here you got the Pinnacle, which is built, I think, in the past decade at high rise. Another cool thing about the Detroit River is the Detroit International Fireworks, which is held in June of every year. And it's a multi-million-dollar fireworks display overlooking the river. And they have like 3 barges and they shoot off the fireworks. If you look at my homepage, you can see a video I did of the Detroit International Fireworks. So you get an idea of what it looks like if you decide to come here during those days. So down there, across the Detroit River, you have the Michigan Central Station. And next to it is a brand new waterfront park called the Centennial Park. So you can look it up on all the new things that are going to be placed in that park. Now, Michigan Central Station is a pretty cool building. It was once the tallest train station in the world, and it was a big passenger terminal. A lot of people used it to leave and enter the city. And then it became shuttered for like 2 decades, and then Ford bought it and turned it into their AI self-driving center. And they spent like $1 billion restoring that building because it was in such a decayed state. Like, you can get an idea of what it looks like if you go on YouTube, or what it looked like back then. They even filmed the Transformer movies in that building, like one of the Michael Bay Transformer movies. And you can get tours there as well, certain times of the week, but you have to look on the website. I'm not sure what the procedure is, but certainly worth checking out if you get the chance, because Detroit has a lot to offer, as well as Windsor, in terms of history. So why not check it out? But you know, why not check out something new? Like, everybody has been to the big cities like New York and Toronto. How many people can say they've been to Detroit and Windsor, Ontario? Not a lot. And they have a lot of offer here, so why not check it out? Why not check out something new? Scratch off that bucket list